Applied Health here at the University of Winnipeg. I'm going to give you a little PowerPoint show, and then if you notice off on the right-hand side, there's a discussion tab. If you've got questions as I go, throw them into the discussion tab, and then I'll try to answer them at the end. Here we go. So we're the Gupta Faculty of Kinesiology and Applied Health here at the University of Winnipeg. That's me. I'm the chair of the department right now. We're the Gupta faculty because we've been financially supported by the Gupta family. We're actually the only named faculty of kinesiology in Canada. But you'll notice mostly with business schools, there are other named faculties. I want to start with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the university is situated on ancestral lands on Treaty 1 territory. These lands are the heartland of the Métis people, and we acknowledge that our water is sourced from the Shoal Lake 41st Nation. Here's perhaps the most common question I get. What the heck is kinesiology? It's really the study of human movements. The department's called kinesiology here, but in some other jurisdictions, it's referred to as human kinetics. And it's how we study human movement in all kinds of levels, everything from what happens at the cell all the way up to how sport fits in society. It comes from the Greek kinin, meaning to move. So it looks at physiological, biomechanical, psychological, and sociological aspects of physical activity in sport. It's really what we do. So here's a little bit about the Gupta faculty. If you've been at any of the other presentations, like the Faculty of Arts or the Faculty of Science, you'll realize they're a compilation of a number of different departments under one umbrella. Our umbrella is a little bit different. In the Gupta Faculty of Kinesiology and Applied Health, we have the Department of Kinesiology and Applied Health. That's the academic department. It's kind of odd that we use the same name, but when we actually named the faculty, they wanted to include the applied health part, so we did. The groups that we comprise is the academic department, as I've just mentioned, and then the athletics department, the recreational facilities, which includes the Duckweed Centre and the Axworthy Health and Recplex, and then also the athletic therapy clinic, which services a lot of people, but we also use for academic reasons. So let's touch on Westman Athletics. We work very closely with the Westman athletes and the coaches. In fact, the majority of our students are probably, not the majority of our students, the majority of the athletes are probably kinesiology students because it's a really good fit with athletics. The CIS sports that we include right now are men's and women's basketball, men's and women's volleyball, and the women's soccer team. So if a prospective student is interested, they should contact coaches or the athletic director to see how the process works. The Duckweed Centre, which is where our offices are housed, also hosts the Bill Wade Lake Fitness Centre. That's named for a past athletic director and previous basketball coach. We've got about 6,000 square feet of fitness equipment, includes cardio stuff, weight machines. It's got a sound system, and there's televisions for students, faculty, and staff to enjoy. And we even let local community members buy memberships there as well. There's squash and racquetball and handball courts in the building. And the Dr. David Anderson Gymnasium. Dave Anderson was the first head of the kinesiology department, the job I now hold. We use it for multi-use events. It's also got 3 gymnasiums that can be separated by curtains. Convocation happens in there, and that's where most of the games happen for Westman volleyball and basketball. On the second level, we've got a newly surfaced indoor running track, and there's saunas available in the change rooms for members' use. So it's a pretty nice place to be. Also on the lower level, there's our athletic therapy clinic. It's specifically there for the Westman athletes, but injured students, faculty members, and the public are welcome to come in and get treatment. It's a place that we've got top-notch athletic therapists, but you can also be seen by one of our student athletic therapists as they're being supervised through their practical experiences. University students get free access to the facilities through their student fees, and they also get free access to the Westman season games. It's your regular home team. It's a good thing to watch. Here's an indoor shot of our new Axworthy Health and Recplex. It's not just this green field. There's also a track, and there's the Great West Life Healthy Campus Research Center that you're looking at right at the far end. There's a bunch of little research rooms and a slightly larger research lab, and then 3 of our faculty members have offices in there. The rest of us are in the Duckweed Centre. The Axworthy Health and Recplex was built for a multitude of purposes, a lot of which we use in kinesiology, but it's also available to the community. Here's some of the things it hosts. We've got this big artificial turf field, a 4-lane sprint track, and a jump pit for high jump and long jump. There's a community gymnasium that has a bouldering climbing wall. When you say bouldering, it means you kind of climb it sideways. It's not particularly high, but you can get up off the floor and you can stay on the wall for quite a while if you go sideways. The gym's used to train our phys ed teachers, but it's also of use by community members who come and use it on the weekends. It's got teaching and training space for both kinesiology and the Westman athletes, particularly the soccer players, and student clubs and sport leagues sometimes use the building as well. It housed the Thomas Sill multi-purpose room, which gets used for all kinds of things. We have seniors meetings in there. We've even got a seniors fitness class that occurs in that room too. There's lots of nice space for students to relax and study called the Drew Olson Student Lounge. There's cushy chairs and desks and seats. The building gets used for community and cultural events. As I mentioned before, it holds some faculty offices, some research space, and some meeting rooms. And underneath the whole thing is a lot of heated, secured underground parking for cars and for bicycles. So now let me talk about our degree programs that we have in the department. We offer a 3-year Bachelor of Physical and Health Education degree that we've termed the BPHE. It's for K-12 phys ed teachers, people who want to teach the gym class. That's basically what that program is for. We offer a 4-year Bachelor of Kinesiology degree. That's a general one. It's got all kinds of stuff in it. And then we have a very specific Bachelor of Science degree that is exclusively for athletic therapy candidates. I'll talk more about that. So let's start with a 3-year BPHE, the Bachelor of Physical and Health Education. It usually gets combined with a Bachelor of Education. One of the unique things we have at the University of Winnipeg is an integrated education program. You can come straight in out of high school if you have good enough marks and apply into the integrated program. So you do your Bachelor of Education at the same time as you're doing your Bachelor of Physical and Health Education, and you get into the school systems about a year earlier. So you're taking education courses along with your phys ed specific courses. If you're not sure when you start, you think it's a maybe, then don't apply to the integrated program. Complete the Bachelor of Physical and Health Education degree, and then you apply to the after degree program. So you do the 3 years of the BPHE with us in the Department of Kinesiology and Applied Health, and then you transfer over to the Faculty of Education and complete your Bachelor of Education degree. The career opportunities for this is essentially a physical and health education teacher. They can work with early, middle, or senior years. We've got the program all spread out depending on where you want to teach and what level. And they generally work in public or private schools. Beyond this degree, there are graduate opportunities, usually a Master of Education degree, and you can take it focusing on school administration for one. Or people sometimes go on and want to become university teachers and teach phys ed programs. This is usually later in their career, and you have to complete an educational doctorate or a Doctor of Philosophy, which is a PhD, to allow you to come back and be a university professor. Here's our catch-all degree, the 4-year Bachelor of Kinesiology. It captures a whole pile of students who are interested in human movement for a variety of different things. There's a whole list there of places where I could think of where people had gone in the past. People go into various levels of sport administration, people who are professional coaches. There are medical and government consultants, health and policy analysts, going into the sports industry where you either design sports equipment or you're involved in the retail industry, health and wellness and promotion, education, fitness leaders and personal trainers, a physical activity consultant at various levels of government. Certainly, we've had a number of people go on to police, fire, or military occupations, and many of our students are entrepreneurs or business owners. I'd like to tell you a little quick story. There was a student I had a number of years ago who was passionate about shoes, wore different sports shoes all the time, was always talking about what they were good for. And I began to wonder what kind of a career this person could possibly come to when their only interest seemed to be in shoes. Today, he's been hired by Sport Chek as their shoe expert. Doesn't work in a store. He works for Sport Chek at the head office. And they send him all over the world to different shoe factories where he sees and gets copies of the latest shoes coming out, gets to try them out and test them. And then he works for Sport Chek, traveling across the country to their stores, teaching their footwear people about what's coming out, what's new, and how to help fit people in the right shoes. He loves his job. And he started here in the Bachelor of Kinesiology program. From the BKN, you can also go on to a variety of graduate school opportunities or professional programs like medicine and sometimes law. Certainly, you could go into higher levels of education, work as a biomechanist, work in sport and exercise psychology, coaching, some kind of sport business, tourism, sport management, or recreation and public health all have graduate programs that would be a good fit for somebody with a kinesiology degree. We have a couple of streams that we focus on in our BKIN. One is the Canadian Society for Exercise Physiology, and those courses count towards certification either as a certified personal trainer or a CPT, or a slightly higher level, the Certified Exercise Physiologist or CEP. They work with slightly more complex crowds. Personal trainers generally work with healthy adults. Physiologists who work with people with chronic diseases and disabilities. On the other side, we also have our courses that count towards certification as a professional coach through the National Coaching Certification Program. We offer some grassroots stuff that's often taken up by teachers who just want basic levels of coaching so they can coach in the school system. But if you focus on our more advanced courses, you can put together a package that will qualify you to go on and do a graduate program and become a paid coach, usually at universities or with national teams. We also have an interesting articulated pathway with the Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College. If students want to be chiropractors, you can do 3 years of very specific kinesiology courses that are articulated in the agreement, and you get early application to the Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College in Toronto. You make the application after your second year. If your marks are good enough and you get accepted to the chiropractic program, then you transfer. And once you've completed the chiropractic program, they transfer back 1 year of the chiropractic courses, and we count them towards a 4-year degree in the Bachelor of Kinesiology. So you've actually only gone to the University of Winnipeg for 3 years, but you actually get a 4-year degree. And at the end of the 7 years, you have 2 degrees. And you get to do that in under 8 years. Then the really tight one, our 4-year Bachelor of Science degree in athletic therapy. This is really focused on becoming an athletic therapist. There are professional sport teams that hire therapists and trainers. Some of our graduates have become case managers for insurance companies, or they work in industrial health and rehabilitation. It's also good preparation for other medical and health professions. Radiology, nursing, massage therapy, and paramedic programs often hire people with their athletic therapy background. And then beyond that, there's graduate school chances in rehabilitation sciences, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, becoming a physician's assistant, which is a relatively new program, or working in a variety of other things, public health fields, etc. So let me touch on some common kinesiology courses that you might run into in your first few years. Here's my friendly waving skeleton. Human anatomy is a key course for everybody in kinesiology. You need to understand human anatomy really to go anywhere with it. So in the anatomy course, we talk about bones, muscles, and nervous innervations. Those are the nerves that fire the muscles. Now, it may look fairly simple at this stage, but all of the bones have names, but they also have lumps and bumps on them where muscles attach and tendons connect. And all of that is part of our anatomy course. So you have a pretty thorough understanding of what's going on with the human body before you move on to more advanced stuff. Nutrition for Health and Wellness is a fabulous course. It's required for all our kinesiology students, but it's very practical. Even non-kin students come and take our nutrition course. Those in arts that are required to take a certain number of science courses, this is an excellent fit. Everybody has to eat. So knowing a little bit about the food, understanding nutrition facts like the little patch I have here, really helps understand how to live a healthy life. So nutrition for health and wellness, key for kinesiology and applied health students, but it's also key for everybody. Do you recognize the picture? Little hard to tell. That's a biomechanical analysis of a golf swing. Biomechanics is a fun course. You study the physics of human movement. So it's good, helps to have a little bit of physics from high school. But we'll look at kinetics, that's the forces involved in human movement, and the kinematics, which is the types of motion we have. A little bit of math helps in this, and I have heard from students that it would have helped if they'd taken some more math in high school. So if you're thinking about biomechanics as a future outcome, think about math too while you're in high school. Exercise physiology is another common one. This is what's happening with the human body physically when we're in the middle of exercise. When you're just sitting still in a chair, we know what resting heart rates are, and it's pretty straightforward. But in exercise physiology, we begin to wonder what happens in the human body when we push it to limits through exercise. There's lots of interesting things we do in the lab in this too. You ride exercise bikes, you take heart rates, you measure lactate buildup in the blood. So again, lots of interesting sciencey stuff going on in kinesiology. Now I'd like to share a few of the unique courses. Not every student will take these, but some of them think they're interesting pathways to follow, so these are the courses that they might take. Issues in sport. Certainly was one of my favorite. You may recognize this photograph to the left. It's the 1968 Olympics, when two black athletes from the United States did what they called the Black Power salute with black gloves on their hands. It was a huge thing in the day. They tried to strip the medals away from the athletes, figuring they were making a political statement during the Olympic Games. I feel sorry for the poor guy at the front. That's Peter Norman from Australia. Probably the most exciting thing about that is that Peter Norman won the silver medal in the 200-meter sprint race. It's extremely rare for a white athlete to end up on the podium in this particular event. But his accomplishment was overshadowed by the political statement being made by the black athletes from the United States. So lots of social issues, political issues, and cultural issues that go on in sport. Doesn't have anything to do with physiology or biomechanics, but it's still important to study and understand the purpose of sport in our lives, why we are involved in sport at all. Inclusive physical activity is a wonderful course. It's particularly good for teachers that might end up with a disabled student in their class. But there's a much broader range of things that you can do with inclusive physical activity. Everything from dealing with children with physical challenges all the way to helping to coach and understanding how to train Paralympic athletes. It's a very interesting course if you're interested in working with people with disabilities. And under normal circumstances, there's actually a practical component where you spend some time working with disabled athletes, either in the Duckweed Centre or there are a few practical opportunities outside the program. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the practical opportunities have been put on hold. And another course that as an aging person, I'm concerned about you all getting information on this, is physical activity and aging. It's a growing demographic with lots of employment potential. All kinds of programs where we work with seniors and keep them physically active and understand the limitations of what they can and cannot do. Finally, I want to touch on recommended high school courses. Because of the sciencey stuff I've already talked about, biology, chemistry, and physics would all be good groundings to have, and certainly physical and health education, your phys ed class. I did mention earlier that math's a good idea too, but if you do well in physics, you should have enough math to get through what we have in our BKIN program. So here are the official prerequisites for the Bachelor of Physical and Health Education, the BPHE, or the Bachelor of Kinesiology, the BKIN degree. General U-Winnipeg undergraduate requirements are fine. Once you've got acceptance to the university, you have everything you'd need to complete those degrees. For the Bachelor of Science in Athletic Therapy, they do require Chemistry 40S and Pre-Cal Math or Applied Math 40S. This is because of the chemistry and statistics courses that are included in that degree. Those are prerequisite requirements to get into the statistics course. So if you're interested, certainly go to our department's website. It's got lots of information. Check out the academic calendar of the view book. And look at the various professors and instructors if you're interested in their research profiles. You can also contact the department through kinesiology@uwinnipeg.ca. That goes to Julie Ward, our programs assistant. And if there's anything Julie can't answer, she'll always pass it on to me. Here's a fun picture from graduation. Here are our kin students outstanding in their field. It's a bit of a play on words. There they are in the middle of the recplex. It's a great place to take photographs after graduation. Thank you for listening. If there are any questions, put them in the sidebar. And I will go back shortly to the Kinesiology and Applied Health booth. If you're interested in the athletic therapy program, please look for the booth for that. It's a little bit separate, and Dr. Glenn Bergeron is there, and he'd be happy to answer questions specifically about the athletic therapy program. Okay, not seeing any questions. I'm going to sign out. If you'd like to chat, I can meet you back in the booth.